Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's September 7th, 2014, and this week our session will be called Reading to Nail the Fretboard. This week's question was sent in from Mike G. He's out in Collierville, Tennessee, and he wrote in with this email. You emphasize the fact that music reading is key to learning the notes on the fretboard, but you stop short of explaining how and why. Could you explain how reading music will lead to knowing where all the notes lie on the fretboard? Maybe some practical examples would be helpful. I can't understand how being able to identify a C note on the music staff will enable me to know where C notes occur on the fretboard. From Mike G. in Collierville, Tennessee, USA. Well, hey, thanks for writing in, Mike. You know, the idea of learning the guitar fretboard is one of the paramount skills for guitarists who've decided to really qualify on this instrument. Whether we've decided to learn notes on the neck through the study of scales, arpeggios, licks, runs, riffs, chords, or any number of other musical studies on the instrument, one thing's for sure, and that's the better we know the notes, the quicker we can execute any musical concept that we're asked to perform. Now, after teaching guitar for over 20 years and after graduating from the Guitar Institute of Technology, one method of learning the notes on the neck that beats all the rest, hands down, is becoming proficient at reading music. Now, music reading is a pretty standard act if you played trumpet or cello, flute or piano, but guitar players tend to be weak at reading. And there's some debate if a guitarist really needs to know how to read anyway. After all, some pretty famous guitar players couldn't read a stitch of sheet music. But what if you wanted to really know every note on the guitar neck cold, literally at the drop of a hat? Will music reading be the way to do it? Well, let's run through a couple of principles of music reading, and you can decide for yourself. Well, let's start with a simple melodic idea, and I'll have it notated in traditional music notation and in tablature as well, for any players out there who perhaps don't read music notation. Now, first, let me just play this part so you can hear how it sounds. Just a nice simple melody that we can use as an example melody. So now let's remove the tab, and I'll demonstrate how a player who can read music notation would think of this exact same melodic idea. See, to a player who thinks of their notes on the neck as one big global concept, any melody is thought as being performed in many locations around the neck because the notes are just known so well. You can do any melodic example in several areas of the guitar. And these would be with all unison notes, the exact same notes. So for example, I might consider the notes that we had from the first example melody in open position. And we could do it maybe even in third position. And there was our fifth position where we started. I could even go to ninth position. And you can hear it's all the same notes, but when you study music reading on the neck, the whole guitar neck becomes one big friendly place because you know exactly where every single note is located. To the guitar player who knows how to read music notation, individual notes or groups of notes never exist as being within singular regions of the fingerboard. To a competent music reader, musical lines and all the notes that build them are a fluid, movable, floating concept. In other words, players who can read do not generally view their necks as having any kind of limitation to one region of the fingerboard. The notes and the multitude of different patterns that they might create are a flexible, alternating assortment of options. You know, something that players who only read tabs or maybe who have only studied geometrical scale patterns are generally unable to fully participate in. Let's look at another music reading concept that, when once learned and able to be done at a high level, will allow you to really get to know notes quite fluently on the guitar fingerboard. Well, next I'd like to look into a procedure that music readers learn called reading up an octave. It's listed in charts as 8VA, and this process allows the reader to adapt a musical part into different registers for a whole host of reasons, the most common being the relocation of a notated part to be better viewed on the sheet music when we read particular sections alongside of other musical phrases. So for example, here's the part we were just playing, but notated now down, however, an octave. All right, to make this easier for those of you who do not read music notation, I'm going to include tab for the next part. And as you can tell, the music notation is still down an octave, but there's a broken line with the 8VA indicator, and this instructs us to perform the music up an octave. And as you'll notice, the part is now performed in the exact location as we played it originally. So if we applied the 8VA concept to our original line in the original location and how it was originally notated, we as music readers must quickly visualize and then relocate the melody up an octave on the neck to a completely different location. And it will be quite high on the fingerboard because we're going from an octave in this region in the middle of the neck. So here's how the original part operates now through the process of 8VA. Now, doing this means we absolutely must have top-notch ability to not only be able to immediately find and immediately read these new pitches in time, but in our minds, we must also compensate for the new octave and the new playing register, the new fingering patterns on the fingerboard, and all that has to happen in real time. See, patterns and locations, when you do 8VA like this, are going to alter, so we cannot go by shape whatsoever. We must know the exact note locations for all this to work out. We're going almost by unconscious feel and process, so we have to know those notes in order to do this within the beat with perfect timing. To do it, our knowledge for the notes on the neck must be immediate and second nature. And pretty much the only way you gain that kind of skill is through becoming a very highly competent music reader. Well, I'm sure that by now you're starting to gain a better understanding of what learning the skills of reading music notation will and can do for you. There's an incredible amount of good that learning to read sheet music offers us as musicians, and gaining a phenomenal ability for very quick note recognition on the neck is only one of them. I could go on to you about the incredible ability that it offers students for learning rhythmic meter, note duration, ear training, interval recognition, control over dynamics, and so much more. But I'll just leave you with this thought. Could you imagine what dedicating 2 years of your studies to reading sheet music might do for you? If you want a simple way to break through to a new level of musicianship, take the 2 years and go for it, because I guarantee you'll never look back and regret it. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and we'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now. Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson from Creative Guitar Studio. Whether you're a beginner or an intermediate player, sometimes it can be confusing where to start and where to go with learning to play guitar. So if you're looking for a lesson plan that really breaks down one of the most popular guitar styles, then my new ebook on blues guitar styles should fit the bill. This is more than just a brief overview of a 12-bar blues progression and a few blues licks and scales that you might find in a lot of other books. This lesson plan will start to help you to both understand and expand on whatever blues genre you're into. And you don't even have to be a blues fan to appreciate all the information in this lesson guide. Keep in mind that the blues is the #1 guitar style that will give you a place to go and expand your guitar playing experience. So even if you're not a huge blues fan, even if you feel like you're all over the place and you've just decided that you need to ground yourself in a comprehensive guitar lesson plan, my Blues Guitar Styles Masterclass course will certainly make a difference for you. The Blues Guitar Styles course is over 50 pages of lesson topics covering popular open and movable chords for playing blues. There's also 2 chapters dedicated to helping the student understand everything there is to know about blues progressions. And that's not all. There's chapters on styles coverage for early blues rock and soul R&B. There's a comprehensive blues guitar techniques section covering hybrid picking, finger picking, slide, and open tunings. Plus there's even a section on rhythmic feel and triple meter blues time signatures. And of course, this lesson plan contains all of the patterns for the blues pentatonic scales, as well as dozens of blues licks, plus a chapter devoted to improvisation. But to add to the value of this lesson plan, I've also included 27 MP3 audio files demonstrating every tab example notated in the ebook. It's a tremendous value for a blues course like this, and one you'll only find available through CreativeGuitarStudio.com.